Hello, welcome to the 93rd episode of Unifying Force. I'm Kat, joined by Dave and Gio. How are you guys?
I am doing well, thank you.
I'm A-OK over here, thanks. How are you?
Okay, so here we are to talk more Andor and the upcoming summer film.
Yeah, I put that down there because you guys wanted to hear me bitch about the Superman trailer, but I was like, there's more stuff coming out this summer than just Superman. Is we can talk about some of the other things and I think possibly pleasantly about some and probably negatively about a lot.
Yeah, sure. It is that season.
Yeah,
Indeed.
the first bit of Andor news that dropped today is they've released the Chandrillan Club Mix song from the wedding scene on as a single called Niamos, spelled Niamos exclamation point, and you can listen to that and dub head out to that. That's the thing.
That needs to be added to every wedding DJ's playlist. Just
oh, you know it will be.
Yeah.
One of the best things we've seen, even in the couple weeks since Andor has ended, is a plethora of an avalanche of Andor memes, which are amazing.
Oh yes,
that shows
Yeah.
it's already penetrating pop culture in a way that the Rings of Power series never will, and it's like that is good because you see that good content really takes it. And a bit of
Yeah.
Star Wars news we have today. There was a rumor that broke that Dave Filoni is rumored to be in the running to replace Kennedy at Lucasfilm. I don't know as a studio president because that involves a lot of stuff, business sides, which he hasn't done. But how do we feel if he were in charge of all of the creative of Star Wars, like the head honcho of creative?
So I don't want to see him stop making content. That's the
Exactly.
problem. And okay, I don't know if he has the skill set or not have the skill set to do that, but there should be gracious plenty of people that he can surround himself with to do that. Is I'm sure his relationship with Favreau he's going to call on him, if he needed help in certain areas. And Favreau has, single-handedly, created the MCU and the most beloved modern Christmas movie of all time, and a number of other things. But I don't want to see him stop creating content. So I don't know how I really feel about that.
What do you think, Gio?
It's interesting because I think wasn't he appointed to Chief Creative Officer a while ago for Lucasfilm? I think he had that title maybe after Star Wars Celebration 2023 or maybe just before. And I think people were wondering, and I think we discussed it on a previous episode about what that really entailed because it was a new role. It's not like a regular C-suite kind of role in these big studios and corporations. And it sounds good if he's encouraging more people to, more artists, more cast and crew to develop Star Wars stories in the way that he has before. And we know that he's sort of George Lucas's apprentice from Lucasfilm Animation just before George walked away from everything in 2012. And he's come up with some of the best original stories within Star Wars, but they're still quite firmly within the Skywalker saga timeline. But his track record of the Clone Wars and Rebels is incredible. He wasn't alone in kind of producing those. And there's Carrie Beck, there's Athena Portillo, there's quite a few other names behind the scenes who are now emerging and doing other projects like the Darth Maul series. But it would be good to see him continue creating. I don't want him to walk away from writing, or just being like a creative person telling new stories, either with established characters like Ahsoka, and we've got season 2 of Ahsoka, I think, in production now, is it?
Yeah, they were announcing that it was like a week away when we were in Japan, I believe.
Right. And they've confirmed Hayden Christensen's back for season 2 of Ahsoka, and you kind of trust, in Filoni we trust was one of the memes from a few years ago, and you do hope that it's still a bright spot creatively for Lucasfilm if he's able to tell more stories. In terms of actually writing scripts, I think some of us have had some issues with, some of the dialogue in a couple of his things, especially in live action. He's a little more untested, and Ahsoka's a huge project to cut your teeth on for the first time, doing like a big live action something. He's obviously done a few episodes of The Mandalorian, but there seemed to be a lot larger kind of crew involved with the writing and storytelling for that series, because it was the first premium Disney Plus original, not just for Star Wars. But
right. And I think this is a good point here, is good creating the content that allows children to fall in love with the universe. It has to grow and evolve. And I don't know if it's him growing and evolving, because we've seen him do some really elevated, like the adult, more adult type stories, but he's done them in animation and hasn't translated that to live action yet.
Well, I think he means that Star Wars in general has to evolve. Like his previous point saying, yeah, it's fine if he runs it as long as you don't stop people like Gilroy from taking Star Wars in new directions.
Oh yeah,
Tony Gilroy's Star Wars sensibilities are polar opposite of Dave. Like Dave Filoni never would have made a show like Andor, because Filoni is, he's obsessed with all the Rebels characters. He's preoccupied with glorified cameos, and he directs live action like animation. So it's like,
well, that's kind of what I was bringing up though, is he's obsessed with Star Wars Rebels. And he created far more adult content in Rebels than we've seen him do in live action, either in The Mandalorian or in Ahsoka. That's some really heavy content that happens in Rebels, like, spoilers, Kanan's death scene.
Like, yeah, that heavy. I mean, it was dramatic, but
it was dramatic, but I mean, that's not necessarily the heavy or the gritty that you're talking about. I'm looking at. I just mean some of the gritty is what the Gio was talking about in the chat earlier. Yes, spoilers. Sorry, but though we didn't see a body, but
it's on screen.
No. Yes. No one is ever really gone.
I know for a fact that Naladoc is a huge Rebels fan. He has definitely seen the Rebels.
Yeah,
but what we were talking about, like Gio earlier, is like Star Wars Underworld. Is that project kind of went away with right before kind of the Disney transition.
Oh yeah, Rick McCallum just gave an interview about that. Actually, he said that each episode was going to be budgeted roughly around $40 million, and that other studios were scared of that. And with the 60 they'd written, it would bring it up to $2.4 billion cost, which nobody was going to do because they were afraid. But Rick was like really excited to do it, and he kind of lamented that they never got around to it. And he's like, yeah, we had more complicated adult stories, and he brought it up, I guess, because he's been watching Andor as well, and he's like, yeah, it was a lot like this type of stuff.
Well, if you actually go down the rabbit hole and look in that article, or there's a something, I think it's on Instagram maybe, if you kind of go down the rabbit hole and listing of what they were talking about, those episodes that they have written would have been, it's a lot of kind of the stuff that they've been working to do, right? is
Yeah.
they've talked about like some of Palpatine's backstory. Now we started the Acolyte kind of started to hint to that with Darth Plagueis, which would lead to eventually, we think that. But some
Then-
Vader origin story stuff that we kind of see in Obi-Wan and a lot of the kind of things that we've seen.
Well, the neat thing about that too is Rick speculated that had they actually done Underworld, given how dark and adult it was, would Disney have been as interested in acquiring the IP? Because it would have put Star Wars in a very different place in the pop culture psyche at the time. I would think the answer would be yes. They definitely still buy it. They would just go in their own direction with it anyway.
Well,
Yeah, I mean-
or things could have stayed separate for a little bit longer, because it's not like Disney doesn't own more adult content. They've got Deadpool, for crying out loud, but that's kind of the silly little thing, and sadly children gravitate to that more than, but that's a whole other story. But it could have
Generational issue.
stayed under like the Hulu banner or something like that longer. It's not bring it into like main Disney Plus, though they are now putting all of Hulu on Disney Plus, which I think is an odd.
Nala Doc, it's okay that you haven't unboxed your HasLab Ghost yet, because I got at least 5 Lego UCS sets that I haven't built yet because I have to find room for them, like Baradur, Rivendell, and some sports cars and Bowser and that stuff. So it's okay.
Okay, yeah, because like I have yet to unbox my HasLab Proton pack, and now they came out with like a non-HasLab, like regular Proton full size 1-to-1. Damn it, Hasbro! Come on. What happened to the HasLabs being exclusive? Oh, it's a 1986 one. It's not the... You recolored it and added some different damn wires.
That's kind of like the difference between the legacy sabers of Count Dooku versus Darth Tyrannus. It's just slight color hue changes on the bands.
Yeah. Let's sell the whole thing again.
I didn't realize they'd done those two both.
Yes, Malibu Stacy again with a brand new hat.
Yeah, they did. I was careful when I went. They had a sale for the Legacy Sabers some years ago, and I almost got the Dooku one. I'm like, wait, this doesn't look right. And then I kept looking and scrolling, and then I found the Darth Tyrannus one. I'm like, that's really sneaky.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm always looking out for the differences in the handles, in the hilts, because there's quite a lot of variation, and I think we may have discussed this on live or maybe offline about some of the discrepancies between like the Black Series Elite FX versus the legacy ones, and the one that keeps coming to mind is the Leia lightsaber, and how the paint job on one of them was a little worse than the other.
And I think the Disney Legacy one is like the little stickers with the fake mother of pearl. Like at least at the beginning, the original iteration just tended to come off. Ooh, that is a nice little coffee mug right there.
This is from Doc Ondars.
Ooh.
Disneyland. Trying to look. I was left.
I do not believe you, sir. I question that. Fact check. Anybody?
You have a HasLab Ghost, and you could use it and you're using it as a secondary coffee table. So.
Yes.
I think that. I think that if we just go back to Star Wars Underworld, it was just a gigantic project, and if we can believe what we've seen and like from the quotes Rick Callum's given, I couldn't find the original article in which it was sourced, but I saw it in a couple of places, so you'd hope it's trustworthy.
Right.
The size of the project is huge in terms of like money and budgeting, but also the plethora of stories. And as you mentioned, Dave, there was a younger Palpatine backstory, which I think was quoted as he was wronged by a lover and kind of jilted. I don't know if that would have turned him to the dark side, but it's definitely turned some people I know to the dark side for a bit. So
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
that would be
Anakin
interesting.
turned to the dark side to save his lover, so it's
And the thing
Yeah,
with
it's a kind of
Palpatine,
parallel.
the Underworld series would have been set between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. So if they had, and if the Palpatine romance, because I think they said it was going to be like a whole season like thing where they were going to use that to explain why he becomes even more evil, and it's like no, it's like
right.
he's
Yeah,
already
that
Palpatine.
yeah, it could work as flashbacks to his youth before he's, Darth Sidious, Lord of the Sith overall. But I do not want to see deformed, lightning melted Palpatine trying to
No, no. We don't
have
want
his
the origin of
imperial.
like Rey's parents. No,
Yeah,
but
we don't need
like
that.
there we go, right here. The new adventures of Sheev Palpatine during his late teens.
Palpatine, the early years.
Bebopping around the galaxy, telling the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, spreading the word, spreading the
The good word of the
Darth
Sith.
Plagueis.
Yeah,
Going door to door, knocking on them, trying to sell the Book of Sith.
yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Have you
But
heard the good word of the
stuff
Dark Lord?
like Palpatine's origins, Vader's missions, more Boba Fett was alleged in that. Stuff that we've seen. This is where a lot of it's the kind of storyline that we saw in Rogue One, or the storylines that we saw backstory of Han and Lando and Chewie, stuff that. So they've taken elements of this. I wonder if these 50 stories were part of the deal when Disney got it, and Disney has gone and mined some of these for ideas as opposed to the actual story. Because it sounds a lot like it.
Yeah, it sounds like the storyline of Solo, a Star Wars stories there, an alternative telling of Rogue One, stealing the Death Star plans, acquiring them as rebel spies. That's one of the storylines that was outlined. The Palpatine one we mentioned, the Boba Fett, and I think it would have been a great time to tell other stories with new characters, smaller characters, the kind of thing that you can kind of spot in other Star Wars projects. Like, I mean, Andor is full of it.
Yeah.
You can feel like the kind of dark, gritty, mature storytelling that Underworld seems to have wanted to tell. Some of those themes definitely emerge in Andor, and I think also maybe into some other properties as well. Like I feel like storylines involving the Bad Batch, because it's in that moment between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. There's a lot to tell. I guess even aspects of, I'm thinking of with the video games, Jedi Fallen Order, and some of the side characters there, which have relation to events in the Clone Wars directly. You have a Night Sister main character. You have another Jedi that's tried to disconnect from the Force, like Obi-Wan had. These kind of stories do seem to have been told in some varied form or another. But and I do think also that point you mentioned about Disney, I think they still would have acquired it, even if Lucasfilm had blown the budget and spent 40 million per episode and gone into the deep red financially. And even if it had not been successful and made a loss, I think Disney still would have thought this is a huge IP that we can do our own thing with. And if a mature fan base had emerged, even a kind of minority one, I think they would have swept that up, and those people would have been excited to see, sequel trilogy stuff and Rebels and other projects that Disney did go on to make. And the Deadpool example is perfect because, yeah, you've got R-rated films, and in terms of the Disney Plus Hulu thing, because UK, Ireland, and Europe doesn't have Hulu, most of the content that comes under Hulu is kind of, there's a watermark of Hulu in the corner of a TV series. For example, Only Murders in the Building or Abbott Elementary, really successful comedy originals that are just on streaming, and they're nestled within Disney Plus, the app, for UK, Ireland, and Europe. So it's still accessible.
Abbott Elementary is on regular TV here in the US
Yeah,
as well. On BBC.
Oh,
you see it on ABC.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So it's both.
But let's not go with no more Boba Fett. Like this stories about Underworld, like alleges that they even had Daniel Logan like working out and training with Ray Park to kind of pick up some
Yeah.
skills to allegedly prepare for that.
I would have been fine if the Boba Fett show was just him as the badass bounty hunter,
Yeah.
But they didn't do that with Book of Boba Fett. They dropped that so hard. I'm reading War of the Bounty Hunters right now, and admittedly, it's a more convoluted story than I thought it was going to be, but it's still all the chaos of what happens when Boba Fett's trying to get the carbonite block of Han Solo to Jabba, and all the chaos that ensues from all the other interested parties. And it's like, that would be vintage action Boba Fett badassery, like right there.
Yeah, and that sounds like what Underworld was doing. Is Daniel Logan should have been live action Boba Fett. It's the story they chose to tell during the time period that they told that they needed Tamora as opposed to Daniel. Daniel's still a little young for the story that they're telling there. But I mean, Tamora, the Sarlacc aged him like more. There should have been, there needed to have been some sort of happy medium there. Yeah, you're right. We got Dad Bod Boba Fett, which yes, you are correct. Because that kind of thing.
The son really ages.
The other level is, would Disney have acquired Star Wars, or would these large, if they had been successful going through HBO, would this have built to a Star Wars HBO partnership? Would that be under that?
If it was exclusively Andor type shows that they were doing, that type of more adult content, particularly with what we got in season 2, then probably.
I'm talking about like entirely if Star Wars had merged with HBO as opposed or been acquired by HBO or vice versa.
Yeah.
It might have been more Lucasfilm acquired HBO as opposed to HBO acquired Lucasfilm. But it may have gone that other way, and their partnership would have been with them as opposed to Disney.
Yeah, that's quite a different parallel, because now HBO's owned by Warner Brothers Discovery because of that merger as well. So there's so much consolidation of these huge corporations, which means that Warner Brothers Discovery is probably Disney's biggest rival overall as a massive corporation.
Well, and they've acquired competing IPs as well. Warner Brothers Discovery, of course, has DC Comics and DC comic properties, the DC universe, where Disney has acquired Marvel. So they're very. And again, Warner Brothers cartoons and Disney cartoons were it's the two ways to go.
True, because it's like on Max, you have they're still doing Batman stuff for kids, but they're also doing more adult dark stuff, like the Batman, where you have practically a Riddler Jigsaw killer type thing, which is more something that definitely not for kids.
Yeah, but
Batman for edgy teens.
Don't not going down that rabbit hole today.
Robert Pattinson, Batman. No.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering though, because in terms of on-screen, the extended universes that have happened with Marvel's MCU and then the DCEU, which collapsed and is now becoming a DCU under James Gunn.
Yeah.
The tone of the overall film franchises has been very different. Obviously, Marvel's gone one particular way, been for the most part a lot more colorful, comical, involving the witty banter between the Avengers and other heroes, and not been pushing the envelope really at all, kind of doing what's quite expected with a lot of characters, and maybe even to the extent where they've changed some people's perceptions of characters. I remember when Thor Ragnarok came out, it seemed like a lot of people who really loved Thor from the comics were almost offended at how Chris Hemsworth was kind of playing it slapstick and doing a lot of fast and loose comedy in that film. And it was a Taika Waititi film, so it has a completely different tone to other things. But I think that it would have been interesting to see how maybe Star Wars might have aped the kind of dark, brooding, slightly depressing DCEU, because that the Zack Snyder films definitely had a very dour and gloomy feel and look to them. And I feel like
Yeah.
Star Wars under Disney, the Disney Plus shows have kind of felt like MCU Disney Plus shows in a way, in that they feel a little rough around the edges, a little cheap in some way, but for the most part, very light-hearted. And the one exception has been Andor.
Yeah, it's a different kind of thing with with all of those because people don't always remember every iteration of every character in the comics. Thor had the 60s silly and versions as well. Always is
Mhm.
that's there. Um so you got to think is Batman hasn't even always been dark and gritty.
Right.
Yeah, is the
No.
Walt Simonson Thor? Absolutely. It's very I love hearing him talk. I've heard him, but that was not always an overly serious Thor. It was a lot more grounded in Norse mythology than a lot of things. Um he did a brilliant version of it, but the versions earlier than that were kind of even more Stanley Fantastic Four kind of campy silliness in the adventures. Only did Thor really get kind of gritty when you get the kind of like 80s 90s Thor a little bit.
Mhm.
But even like 60s Batman TV show became the popular in the comics for the longest period of time.
Mhm.
And then you go back and you have your dark story. So it's cyclical and it depends on who's writing or drawing or directing as to where there is. And there's room for all those versions of all those characters in a universe. Well, maybe not in the same universe, but out there in filmography and popular culture, I think. There are much more. They got a little bit into it in MCU, but like there's the entire story of Tony Stark's drug addiction in the comics.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that wouldn't have flown in regular MCU. It might fly now that it's established, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
quite a
know.
different tone to what Iron Man has been.
Yeah. I mean, you got a little bit of that was a little bit more. They didn't really play it lighthearted. They played it more serious. But PTSD, Iron Man having PTSD, is not seen as. I'm trying to think of the right word that I can't, but it's a different concept than showing him as drug addicted. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's giving him a
Mhm.
flaw. It's giving him but it's not that severe hard drug addicted kind of thing. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could. I mean, I guess it comes down to personal perception and morality almost, but you could argue that drug addiction might start with a more active vice of the character
yeah,
that goes down that rabbit hole, unfortunately, and then loses control and becomes addicted. Whereas PTSD is very much more passive and it happens to somebody, tends to be more tragic in storytelling
yeah,
and in life, one could argue. So, yeah, the kind of parallel dark stories about Tony Stark. And I mean, wasn't there actually in Iron Man 2 couple of references to Tony Stark's alcoholism? Because he gets drunk at the party
In a
when he's wearing the suit.
in
It
a really
wasn't.
cartoonish way, though.
yeah.
Yeah, they kind of made him slapstick, as in like he was just a hapless drunk wearing the suit and ruining his own mansion in Malibu. But um, I think that there were a couple of moments where I felt like they could have, gone down that route. But I think that's probably where Iron Man 2 is considered one of the lesser Marvel films by a lot of people. I still really enjoy it. Um, I have fun with it, even though I know it's not the most amazing standalone film. And Iron Man 1 still seems to be everyone's
Well,
favorite.
and I think the alcoholism or his drunkenness in that wasn't his drunkenness in that wasn't necessarily pictured as the fault of alcoholism, which would have been a storyline. It was more of he's drinking because of the pressures of being Iron Man and it was a more brief type of thing, as it, those events happened over the course of days as opposed to a prolonged downslide and prevailing character trait at that point. So it wasn't given the length and the gravity that it needed to really discuss alcoholism.
Bringing this back around to Star Wars, I wonder what would be the next type of era or story that would be ripe for an intense Andor type adult storyline to tell.
Wow. I don't think it's going to be Starfighter. No, it's going to be Starfighter. It's like, no.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the addition to the main cast?
I don't know. I don't know her in the slightest, so I don't know.
Who was it?
Mia Goth.
Yeah, she's a good actress, but again, I have no idea who the character's playing, so it doesn't really, so I can't really have an opinion on it.
Courtship of Owen and Beru, a romantic comedy. Is this what we need?
A romantic drama about moisture evaporators and all the tenebrous machinations of trying to sell moisture and deal with evaporators.
Yeah, bargaining with astromech droids.
I can't say exactly what it would be because, what exactly was the genre of Andor? It changed and it had so many different ones. At some point, it seemed like a gritty cop show, and at some point, it was like a murder mystery, and at some point, it was a political thriller.
That reminds me, you have to give us your thoughts on the ending of the second arc because Dave here inexplicably did not watch the last episode of the second arc and didn't even notice that he had skipped it when going on to the third and fourth arc.
Until we were kind of having our Andor rediscussion and there were things you guys were talking about. You can actually see it. If you go back to episode 92 and you watch, and there's a point where they have to correct me which arc we're talking about, that's where it is. That's where we went wacko. Oh, I missed something.
Yeah.
So as I went back and I watched that, and I watched some more of the arc, and I'm like, how did I not know that I missed that? That was like the super important kind of part of that arc. I mean, I know how I missed it because I didn't do a watch along with that. That was the Friday night watch along for that episode.
Yeah, that was the episode that ended with Bix and Andor killing Dr. Gorst and blowing up his offices.
Right. Yeah. Is there was so much going on in that episode, and it starts with Cassian just sitting there and showing his disapproval of the way Luthen's running things, which you see later in the episodes once they're on Yavin, as he's talking about, no, this is Luthen, this is all because of Luthen, but he didn't always agree. It's like, look, I'm putting Bix above, which again is one of my bones to pick with the fact that, did he have the romantic relationship with or romantic feelings for Jen when he knew Bix was still alive? And bone to pick there. But he's putting Bix above Luthen and nearly above the cause. But he they showed that's like, okay, we can go and further the cause and help Bix or really get revenge for Bix for being in the mind flayery whatever device.
Yeah,
there have been so many great memes about that as well, the things that they're forcing him to actually listen to, such as Mariah Carey's Christmas hits and things of that.
All I want for Coruscant is you. I'm really glad you caught up with that episode, because I think that the episode 4 and 5 before it of that second arc might have been the slowest episodes in the overall 12 episode season. So I felt like it was a lot of setting the chess pieces on the board.
Well, and I like even kind of the tongue-in-cheek stuff that they have it too, where Luthen and Claire are walking out of the big dinner party, whatever, and they're like, we could have just killed Krennic while we were in there. It's like, oh, and none of the rest of this written and directed by Tony Gilroy. We're done.
Well, the 6th episode was also the one where Val gives her little speech, right? When
Yes,
what's
that
her
is
name
where,
dies.
where
Yeah, you
there
missed
was
that.
a lot of the setup for the causes of the Gorman.
That was a big moment in the show that you missed.
Yeah, that heist at nighttime, which was quite hard to see, and then you had the young Gorman soldier who fell perfectly at the angle in which the blaster single bolt managed to
Yes.
fatally kill Cinta, which I thought was a bit of a stretch. The camera work, I also thought it was a bit less clear to follow. Whenever you got nighttime scenes, I think on especially TV streaming, you got to be really careful. I think everybody remembers, if not the episode, or if you didn't watch it, the fallout from Game of Thrones final season, where there was an episode called The Long Night, and it was shot at night, and people genuinely couldn't see what was going on because it was so dark.
Well, it is slightly better than what they traditionally have done for TV. Okay, don't judge, but my wife and I, because we cannot agree on genres of things, we've been going back and watching just a random show. Like we're watching Baywatch from the beginning now. Okay. And what they would do for TV, which is let's just shoot a nighttime episode during the day and put a filter on it.
Yeah, day for nights.
It's like, I think the it's a little bit too dark sometimes might be slightly better and not just like remove you from the scene than that.
Perhaps. What's Baywatch? Is Baywatch on streaming somewhere?
So it got weird. Is Baywatch was streaming, and I don't even remember what service, but we started watching season 1, and we're like, oh, it's kind of, and then this is like, oh, okay, this is what happened. But at some point, it switched streaming services, and the same link that we'd been clicking on took us directly to like Baywatch Hawaii, which happened after all that Baywatch. It was a spinoff that they tried to do, and it's like, wow. Once you start watching Baywatch Hawaii, you appreciate the original Baywatch.
Baywatch Scarif, a Star Wars story.
Yeah,
there you go. That's what we're gonna get. Is we need just like some level of why are we watching this show other than watching the scantily clad people? Oh wait, we're not. That's why. That's what Baywatch was. But even Baywatch went through multiple genres. It started off as like a lifeguard show, and it actually showed you things, and then it got less and less about that. And then it was like interpersonal relationships of the main cast. And then even they had like when the X-Files was popular, they had Baywatch Nights where they're like solving mysteries. And I think it kind of got not extraterrestrial, but like, yeah, it was like, dude.
Baywatch X-Files crossover. Did not.
I mean, it wasn't like really that, but it kind of got,
yeah.
So, yeah, you get all sorts of like, what genre could you do? I mean, you could do a Star Wars cop show. What I wanted was like Star Wars Top Gun. Damn it, where's my Rogue Squadron?
Yeah. I mean, maybe Starfighter will be that slot. I mean, it should be that genre of film, you'd hope.
There is so much more Baywatch than you ever realized. The number of spin-offs and the number of seasons and the number of like cast members that came in and out and this and that. And yes, so much more.
Did it run 22, 24 episodes a season?
I don't know. It was a lot because like I said, we only got before it switched over. It was
because I'd imagine
halfway through season 1.
I'd imagine in the early days of Baywatch, plot was like secondary or maybe the fourth thing they were worried about, so they could just crank out episode after episode.
That's
so no, that was more toward the middle. They actually like sort of cared about plots, and there are many episodes where they're not as much of the red swimsuit as you would think. But there were. And I had forgotten about this before. There were like musical interludes in the middle of the show where it's just a whole lot of B-roll and some 80s music. It's just like, oh yeah, it was definitely a thing. But yeah, they actually did care somewhat about. I mean, and it was like cheesy '90s TV plots, but yes, there were actual plots in the beginning, and then as they got more and more to it, they realized, no, we're watching this for the people in the red swimsuits. Like
Well,
even in the beginning, like Hasselhoff didn't take off his shirt. And then, you know, in the later episodes, you never saw Hasselhoff. Like, does Hasselhoff own a shirt?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
It's a
bringing it
different era.
bringing it back around to our secondary topic of upcoming summer movies. Which
Yes.
seems to be a good segue. I
Yeah.
did just see the John
Okay,
Wick
so-
spin-off Ballerina the
Oh
other day.
yes. What did you think of that?
Mostly really good action, razor thin story, and paper thin characters compared to the other John Wick movies, and that's saying something because those are
Ooh.
barely anything there. So I wasn't really as invested with it, and even though it's only hour 56 minutes without credits, which is 43 minutes shorter than John Wick 4, I was still feeling tired watching it, whereas I love John Wick 4. But Ana de Armas
wow.
is very good. If she wants to be an action star, go for it, you know. But I gave it 3 out of 5. I was like, it's okay.
Okay. Has anybody seen any of the other ones that have come out? We'll talk about the previews of some of the others, but like I'm looking at Rolling Stone, like I think 36 or so of what's supposed to come out this summer and what they're talking about. And seen Mission Impossible yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have. Go on, Cap.
What'd you think, Gio?
All right, so I've kind of grown up with the Mission Impossible films being my cool, exotic, across the pond spy series, the way that a lot of Americans have with Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Kat, for you, especially because I know you're an expert on that franchise. So Mission Impossible for me is like the lifelong action adventure series that I've always enjoyed and indulged in. And some of them have felt like guilty pleasures, but actually, no, I don't even feel guilty liking any of Mission Impossible. I think it's great. This final one is impossible to see without seeing Dead Reckoning Part 1, even though they dropped the Part 2 part and it's the final reckoning. This is I'd say, even though it's a long film and it does feel long, which is not a pro, it's more of a con. This feels like the third act, and Dead Reckoning was Act 1 and 2. It's a lot of exposition, a lot of talking, a lot of very grave circumstances, end of the world, nuclear apocalypse, brickmanship between countries. It might, in a way, feel a bit too serious and a bit too close to what is almost happening in the real world. But I think that it's a decent finale. It has 2 standout action sequences in it, which I think are in the trailers. They're not really a surprise. So they're very impressive. It continues Tom Cruise's. Will he make films until he just dies because he's unwilling to let any stunt performers do his things? And he doesn't want CGI for the action. He might have it for the background stuff. It's very impressive. It's very long. There's no point watching it unless you're familiar with Mission Impossible. I don't think, Mission Impossible 3, 4, and 5, I think you can jump into not knowing Ethan Hunt and previous characters, Luther Stickle, and they're self-contained enough. Christopher McQuarrie's written a film that has to be watched with Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I actually was fortunate enough to watch Dead Reckoning Part 1 again. It was on Netflix, available here, on Wednesday. And then Wednesday evening, I watched The Final Reckoning. And so I feel like I was in the best circumstance to enjoy the film the most, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I wish I had.
Yeah, McQuarrie gave an interview where he strangely said that the story changed a lot once they had all the delays, and I don't get why you would have to change the story from there. And it felt almost like there were different writers and editors on the movie who didn't know what each other was shooting, and that's why you had so much excessive, redundant exposition in it. It's like, you don't need to hold our hands this much. It's like he doesn't think we have any deductive reasoning. That they have to explain how this leads to this. It's like, the plot of this movie actually isn't that complicated. That you don't need to overcomplicate it from all this dialogue. But it does have 2 all-timer action sequences in it. The biplane stuff is amazing. The submarine thing is really impressive because they ran like an actual submarine and flooded it in a tank or something. So that was really cool.
Yeah, Cruise has been doing the talk show rounds talking about the stunts and stuff.
Yeah, but there wasn't really any spycraft in the movie, and for the
No.
enemy being this intellectual AI, you would figure that it would be more intellectual spycraft to try and defeat it rather than just action. And
Mhm.
there's several plot holes in terms of the plot logic, like the entity is infiltrating the world's nuclear command centers to take control. It's like all the world's nuclear command centers are on their own power grids, disconnected from the internet. So the only way
Yes.
to get in there is if somebody manually brings it in. And even in the climax, they're like, "Oh, it wants to go to the Doomsday Vault," which is also off the grid without any internet. And it's like, well, you have to manually bring it in. It can't just. And even if you let it in, it can't communicate with the rest of the with with
That
the rest
was
of
an
the everywhere.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work.
that's
It only
the
works if
plot
the
of one of
heroes.
the diehards.
Probably.
Yeah, kind of Die Hard 4.0. Yeah, the technology virus hacking thing is
Yeah.
kind of similar. Yeah, the only way the finale stakes work is if you accept that our heroes are going to allow the villainous entity AI to come in deliberately as part of their plan to then try and catch it, which is effectively
Well, the thing that's weird
they want
about
to
that
catch a
too.
program on a USB dongle. That's the thing they want to do.
Right, but here's the problem, though. It's like they don't need to do that because if Luther has invented a malware that can be uploaded to cyberspace, it does the job independently of what's going on in the vault. So it's like what you're risking everybody for the sake of basically capturing a pure form of it to keep for later, I guess. I was like, what are you doing? It just spoilers, but it's just
this is the plot of Avengers: Age of Ultron.
basically yes, and it's in a sense
Yeah.
it's repeating the plot of Ghost Protocol, which was a terrorist trying to instigate nuclear Armageddon by framing the superpowers for shooting nukes at each other and whatnot, bombing the Kremlin and trying to blow up San Francisco. So and they keep going back to nuclear stuff, and I'm like, what, Mission Impossible doesn't need to be such huge scale stakes to be good. Like Rogue Nation was a really good movie. I think that one was my favorite because it's just a lot of spycraft in that. I admit Fallout was really good. That was like as far as action, but yeah, so it was. I liked the movie, but it didn't need to be that long. Strangely, I thought it felt shorter than Dead Reckoning, even though Dead Reckoning was a shorter movie. But so yeah, so there's that.
Anybody seen Karate Kid yet?
I did. It's like the same as the other Karate Kid movies, like the same exact story again, which is why it's not doing very well with the fans of that series. Even though I think the kid is really charismatic and the best protagonist they've had in that series. And,
Well,
by the way, Ralph Macchio's there. Oh, what a surprise! He shows up for the third act for a few scenes.
Well, I think it's a lot of let's try and get all the kids who are really into Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Like let's try and get them to make the jump back to theaters to kind of save
by not bringing in any of the Cobra Kai characters and storyline.
It's just the name, man. It's just the name, and that's the reason why Cobra Kai went away. Is this like all those kids and stuff is like they want more of a career than just to be pigeonholed into this character forever. But yeah, that's the bring Ralph Macchio. That's your trans man. But
we also have the new Wes Anderson film just released, The Phoenician Scheme. Del Toro in a lead role. I haven't seen it yet, but I really want to see that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that looks like a great cast. It's Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Michael Cera, Bryan Cranston, Benedict Cumberbatch, Willem Dafoe. I mean, this wow.
He gets the craziest all-star
Bill
cast.
Murray.
Yeah, and he gets those casts because he has a billionaire behind him producing his movies just because the guy loves what he does. Because Wes Anderson's movies don't do gangbusters business, and it's like, and it's great that he does have a billionaire behind him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to make this many movies, and so that's really cool.
Who is it? A known person?
Not like big famous. I think it's like a telecoms or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, when you IMDb Wes Anderson's name, they only have space for a single credit beneath the name. Which film do you think comes up?
Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's what I'd expect, Dave.
I can't even narrow it down.
Fantastic Mr. Fox 2009.
Really? That's
yeah. I think it's an outstanding film, but I have huge bias because I loved the book, but I didn't mind them going way away from Roald Dahl's story. That's
like George Clooney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an excellent performance. He's perfect. As I never would have thought George Clooney, Fantastic Mr. Fox, before seeing the film, and then you just accept it, go with it, and it's great. It's whimsical, but it's also quite serious, and there's a kind of family element that's very humanistic, which is not what you'd expect from maybe Fantastic Mr. Fox. But it's one of my favorite Wes Anderson films. I'm not as keen on some of the early ones, even though I think critics love them. But I understand why they're appreciated. I really liked Grand Budapest Hotel is my favorite of his. Um, Fantastic Mr. Fox probably second. I really liked Isle of Dogs. Um, I think when
I,
he's done the stop motion animation, it's been really effective.
I actually really love his first movie, Bottle Rocket. That is great. I love that.
I've not seen that one actually.
Oh, that's really good. You should see that. What else we got this summer? Oh, we got Weapons by the guy who made Barbarian, about all the kids who vanish from the same class who vanish in the morning, and then only one kid comes back, and all the parents are angry, and the teacher's facing criticism, and it's like a mystery, like where did all these kids go? And like this looks really good, you know.
Oh, that one's not even on
August.
the Rolling Stone list there.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one.
I
Caught
have
Stealing
not.
by Darrenofsky looks fun. That looks like it'll be Darrenofsky's probably most mainstream movie.
Which one is that?
It's Caught Stealing. It's Austin Butler and Matt. What's his name? The guy they thought was going to be playing young Palpatine in Episode 9, and he wasn't even in it. Matt. I can't remember his name, but it's like the latter guy's playing this like punk who asks his friend Austin Butler to, hey, can you hang out in my apartment and like, house sit or watch the dog stuff for me? He's like, sure. And while he's doing that, these punks show up in chaos, and it's Matt Smith, that's who it is. And pandemonium ensues. But that looks really fun. That's in August.
Oh, I completely forgot that rumor about Matt Smith being young Palpatine.
Yeah, so let's talk about kind of together is one that's come out and one that hasn't, is live action Lilo and Stitch and live action How to Train Your Dragon. Why, people?
Well, the live action Lilo and Stitch was not good. All the changes are worse. And it's like, Stitch is cute, and the actress they got to play Lilo is perfectly cast, but the rest of it is just...
That is what I've heard. Is that actress is amazing. But the live action with a character that you can't actually make live action.
Mm-hmm.
It's twice in the summer with
Disney with the How to Train. Now I understand the How to Train Your Dragon. Like I went to Superhero Con last summer, and they were talking about this because the kid that's doing it is like online best friends with the kid from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Like this is the level of weirdness that I don't understand. But so they met for the first time at this con, and they're doing a panel together, and they're talking about the How to Train Your Dragon and what he's doing. So the online best friend of Percy Jackson is the lead in this one. But it's the kind of the teeny boppers they want seeing this. They're moving it up.
And the dragon looks exactly the same as in the so-called live action animation as it does in the cartoon.
Yeah, they did an amazing job replicating that, but why does that now make this?
I don't know. It's just, and it's DreamWorks' first remake, so congratulations, DreamWorks, for waiting so long. But now that they've given into that, I hope it doesn't,
go down the same rabbit hole.
Yeah, Disney.
Don't do live action Kung Fu Panda. Don't do live action Kung Fu Panda.
No. That one I will pay to see. Let's just put Jack Black in like a white and black. No, all day.
Yeah, maybe actually.
Because
they already made that movie. They already made that movie. It's called Nacho Libre.
Well, that's the truth. Elio, Pixar is
Pixar
doing
film.
An animated adventure around an 11-year-old who's convinced there's intelligent life forms elsewhere in the galaxy.
Because there's none left on planet Earth.
Because
I hadn't. That one kind of snuck up on me. I hadn't realized it was. I hadn't used to follow Pixar quite closely with all the new developments, but I think since
So that's
Disney
coming in 2
Plus.
weeks. Is
Yeah,
that looks
it's a
like
June release.
I think that's a look like it could go good, it could go bad because like the credits that the people that worked on it are like at Coco, amazing, or Turning Red, eh. So it's like 28 years later.
Yeah, the
Did we
first act in a trilogy where they're still looking for funding for the third act.
I don't know that we wanted this sequel. I think this is the Top Gun Maverick Ghostbusters. This is what people are looking to do now. Let's find a franchise from that period of time, from 30 years ago, that we can reinvigorate.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah, it's usually misses with these legacy
well, and I
sequels.
think they've missed the bandwagon on this because The Walking Dead has kind of run its course at this point. Zombies were huge.
They ran its course a long time ago with that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but then there was the other show, and then there's the other show, and then they
Yeah,
were
they did
they
five.
just
They made a big deal about how The Walking Dead was ending, but then they announced like 5 spin-offs or something. So
Yeah,
it's like, is it really ending?
no,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, they've missed the zombie bandwagon, so I don't know. Also, another one that it's like, why are we doing this movie again? I've seen this movie. Brad Pitt in F1.
I mean, it looks cool because he's actually driving the F1 car for real, and the cinematography does look really banger for the race sequences. So that I'm actually looking forward to that one.
But haven't we done this in Ford versus Ferrari, and haven't we done this in what was the movie where
Sure, but
Damon...
Ford versus Ferrari is not F1. That's different.
Okay, well, no, I know the cars and stuff are the different. I'm talking about just the concept of the movie. Is like we've seen the same thing in where Damon's playing what's this?
He played Carol Shelby.
Carol Shelby. It's like I don't know. And then have we seen this kind of thing where Brad Pitt? Is it the same movie where Brad Pitt's playing the baseball manager thing? I don't know.
Except not really, because here he's just the driver, and there's no famous figures in this movie that I'm aware of. Like Javier Bardem's just the guy who's working for the team. Like you don't have Enzo Ferrari or Carol Shelby or any bigwigs like that as your main characters. So it's a very made up fictional story, but very typical. The veteran versus the young buck type thing.
Yeah. No, I did enjoy the movie a couple of years ago where they had the kids that played the F1, the racing game, like become drivers.
Oh, yeah, Gran
Turismo.
Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
I didn't like
I have yet to see that actually. I'm excited to see it when I do because it looked good.
Yeah.
And it sounds like people enjoyed it.
The part I was interested in that movie was how they get picked for that thing, and then all the training they have to do. But they kind of fast forwarded through that just to get to him being like a racer, and then it became like a normal movie. I'm like, no, the part that's interesting is that you're taking gamers and trying to train them to be actual, drivers, and that part of the movie is kind of glossed over in the first act real quick. I'm like,
it's a shame. That's a miss.
Yeah, so it was okay, but
yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best of movies, but it was like that's kind of like is there there's an airplane movie. Is there a pilot on board? I've got 37,000 hours on Chuck Yeager's Air Combat. That guy.
Would you consider Gran Turismo a video game adaptation? Because technically it is, but it's really nothing like a video game.
Well, no, because the game is just like you race in your own circuit and you career like Forza or F1 games.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not. It's a cliche type story of a kid from a rundown community wants to make it big, and then he does so through a weird video. But again, the video game aspect of it is the most unique aspect of the story because they actually did this for real some years ago, and it's like tell that story. Don't do and yes, it's like they are telling that story, but again, they're fast forwarding through the most interesting, unique part of the story to get to a very generic. I'm racing for a Gran Turismo, am I gonna make it, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Megan's
Oh
sequel.
God, my friend dragged me to see the first one, and I was so bored. I wanted to leave, but I was on the hook to stay with them. I'm like, this isn't scary. This is really stupid. I didn't care for the lead actress very much, and I watched the trailer for the second one, and I'm like, this is so unbelievably dumb. It's like, yeah, there's a killer robot out. Let's not call the National Guard or something. No, let's just take another killer robot and just trust it to do the right thing. I'm like, I can't. I can't with this level of I will
Again.
not be seeing that.
Age of Ultron. Oh.
When's the sequel for Cocaine Bear coming out? That's what I'm waiting for.
Well, they did. They did all the spinoffs like Cocaine Shark and Cocaine Leopard, all that kind of crap.
Oh,
The
yes,
directors
that
didn't
stuff
do,
is there. Like Cocaine.
Oh,
yeah.
really? I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, they did so many ridiculous ripoffs.
That was ridiculous enough that I went to. We were on a road trip and I stopped to see Cocaine Bear. Like it's like there's a stuffed bear that's Pablo Escobar that's in the Kentucky Visitor Center or something. It's like, yes,
what?
the merch, Cocaine Bear for president. But Jurassic World Rebirth. Here we go. Reboot a franchise that they already rebooted.
Yeah, what are they doing?
All the dinosaurs look fake again. It all just looks like CG. It doesn't look real. And that just takes me out of it, and that's my problem with the Jurassic World movies.
Yeah.
It's like, in some of them they are using animatronics, but they put this little CG sheen on it afterwards. It just makes it look fake.
I don't know why
they
the
don't need to be
technology,
shiny.
other than budget, is here. That's what it is. Is budget for the actors goes up, budget for the dinosaurs goes down.
Yeah.
It's like, when you started, those were some reasonably good named actors, but they weren't big budget. You have to pay them $1 million or $10 million. But,
And I laughed when the director of this new one says, oh yeah, we're going back to actual science and actual dinosaurs and being more scientifically accurate. And then you watch the trailer and there's that thing that looks like a Hell Knight from Doom games. It's like, what the hell is this?
Oh yeah.
This isn't accurate. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Now this is, and here's your Star Wars tie-in that we allegedly have to do occasionally. Is this is Gareth Edwards? It is. So it's like,
well, he did Godzilla, the 2014 reboot, which I hate that film.
The one with Matthew Broderick?
No.
The
one with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he did the Creator. I like that.
I like that film a lot. Dave, have you seen it?
No, I have not seen The Creator.
It's on. I think it's on Disney Plus. It has been for here.
See, we still have to do this. We have to do the list of top 10s and make fun of each other for not seeing it. This is a future episode coming. Well, it's like, what has each of us not seen in there that you need to?
I think it's one of the best standalone sci-fi films for a while. I really liked it.
And I will argue for the Matthew Broderick Godzilla. It's like, for what it was.
I will too. That's a 90s favorite.
It's not a Godzilla movie, but it's a monster movie.
Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth. It's like, let's.
I don't think it's going to be the hit that they want it to be.
Yeah,
I will argue that it may, but not the way they think it is, because you've got this thing, and here's the thing: like my nephews are both at the point where they are dinosaur obsessed, right? Yes, and it doesn't matter what they are. It's they're like 6 and 3, and parents are going to they love the Jurassic Park films, and if you're looking for something to take your kid to, though I question taking your kid to this in the theaters, but like they can recite the original Jurassic Park, right? Yes. So
I approve.
Yeah.
I approve of this fandom.
So I think that there's always going to be that group that is going to make something like this about dinosaurs be successful.
Here's another potential discussion. Do you think the era of the superstar actor is dead? Because arguably they're banking on Scarlett Johansson maybe as bringing some people into that Jurassic World rebirth, but I don't know how much of a draw just a single actor is anymore. Tom Cruise has been kind of the exception to that, but
Well,
there's
there's some
no
others that
exceptions.
Chris Pratt tends to get people to anything that he's in.
In general, the era of marketing a movie around one actor has not been a thing for a long time.
yeah, I don't think.
I
And
mean,
because
yeah,
I
the
think
F1 movie you could argue is being marketed around Brad Pitt, but you know, even he's not doing movies regularly enough anymore as an actor for that to be, you know, a big thing. So yeah, that whole era is sort of over with.
yeah,
Well,
I think
They're
just
also
more
not
direct.
paying unless you're doing streaming. They're not really paying exorbitant fees for actors at studios anymore because they just can't afford it. And it's like, you know, we don't need to pay people these absurd $20 million fees to be in a movie.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I wish
or find new people, like all the new
Yeah.
people that they found in Andor.
Yeah,
yeah, they're all
Just
stars. They're
great.
they're all fantastic. Hmm
That was
Actually,
amazing.
the actress who plays Vel is in the Netflix miniseries Adolescence. I don't know if have you guys seen that one?
I heard of it. I haven't seen it. I don't have Netflix anymore.
It's all right. It's worth seeing purely because of the cinematography,
Mm.
because it's shot in a one take type style. So every episode, just the camera follows what the director needed it to follow and the DOP, and it's actually really impressive what they did. They used like gimbals and dollies, and they used drones as well, and it's very nicely shot. At least watch episode 1, and if you don't hate it, then finish it. But that's a show that I'm shocked at how popular it's been. I think it was #1 Netflix worldwide in like US, Canada, Europe, Ireland, UK, and it's kind of a prescient miniseries because it's about the dangers of social media and online toxicity and the incel culture and trolls and the kind of red pilling of young adolescent men, which is a huge issue, obviously, in the kind of societal terms. But it's really well shot, and you've got the actress, don't remember her name, but Vel from Andor is in that as a cop, and it's a very different type of role to what you saw in Andor. So hopefully more Andor actors and also the crew get to go into exciting creative projects that we can enjoy.
Yeah, that'll be cool. We've got the Old Guard 2. Charlize Theron from that.
Is that being released? Is that being released in cinema? Because the
It
first one I
says
think was
it says coming out July the 2nd.
because I think the first one was Netflix straight to streaming, but it was
Probably,
during
it
COVID.
probably will be straight to streaming for. It would be very bizarre to have the first movie be a streaming movie and the second one be a theatrical movie. Let's see. Let me look.
It might get a limited run though. Netflix sometimes has a kind of deal where it's
sequel
out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't specify on here. Like I said, I'm reading this Rolling Stone article, but Charlize Theron, Uma Thurman.
It's Netflix. It's Netflix only.
Okay.
Yeah, probably because the first one wasn't.
Yeah. A sequel. Okay, they're making up a new requel. Okay, a requel, which is a combination franchise reboot and sequel at the same time.
I mean,
I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, because we need to reboot that series. My God.
So they're apparently the cast of the 2022 Scream film. It's a sequel for that, but it's also bringing back like Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr. potentially. Like, oh, dude, just wow. Hollywood,
so Star Wars
adjacent. Can we get some original ideas? Can we please?
I think that's where, this is something we could talk about in further detail, but there were a couple of articles a few months ago, and then I think a pretty good YouTube video about discussing the death of the middle budget film. So it's either extreme AAA IPs and remakes and requels and sequels and prequels and giving you the same slop over and over again, nostalgia bait and so on, or it's tiny budget films that have been given a chance.
Well, I
or
mean,
maybe
why
picked
didn't
up.
you just give us a slasher film and give it a new name? Like give us whatever the plot of this is, if there is one.
Yeah,
And just give us a slasher film and name it something else. Like change it from a guy in a fishing slicker with a hook. And
Well, again, they're dependent on the franchise to bring in the fans of the original, and it's like,
uh-huh.
yep.
You will consume what we give you.
yeah.
But yeah,
Because-
I understand is that they're afraid to go out on their own and make a good movie for the sake of making a good movie. They want to use that name.
Well, I think you could resurrect mid-budget movies if Hollywood has been killing movie theaters by completely eliminating the theatrical window. It used to be you'd have to wait 6 months before being able to rent or watch any movie at home that released in a theater. And that's completely gone. No matter how well a movie does, it's on VOD within like 4 weeks or maybe 6 or 7 if it's a successful film.
Some
6
movies
weeks,
you
yeah.
come out with now that you can rent them at the same time they're in the theater. It costs you like $30 to do it. But
yeah, and
Yeah.
then yeah, and that's cheaper than paying a bunch of separate tickets for a whole family to go see a movie. But on top of that, streaming, they gone all in on streaming, and it just wasn't profitable. And Tony Gilroy actually said that at a Q&A last week. He says, "Yeah, Disney executive told me streaming is dead, so it's unlikely that another Disney Star Wars show is going to get a $645 million budget because." And honestly, I can see the quality on screen. I can't see that much on screen. I don't know where all that money went. Because like Gorman,
Andor.
for instance, is not a huge sprawling set. It's like the courtyard and a couple rooms, and like the whole episode was like the big 8th episode was like dialogue and stormtroopers shooting at each other. It wasn't like 100.
well, I mean, a lot of that was probably taking the entire production to Guatemala.
Oh, maybe for Yavin 4.
That's probably it too. Because they said I did hear that. I'm not sure how much season 1 brought in for revenue, but season 2 brought in $300 million in revenue for Disney Plus. So if we're to assume, for the sake of argument, that each season cost half, which is $322.5 million per season, then they almost broke even, but didn't on season 2. Because much like with a movie, a streaming show is going to get the bulk of its views and subscribership for it in the first, while it's in its initial run, which it's now over with. So, like as big as Andor is right now, and we're talking about it, it won't be in 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. Which is why you're seeing studios make these deals now where they're giving ownership of movies back to certain directors after a couple decades, because they figure everybody's going to see it who have wanted to see it and own it by then. Like Tarantino got that deal for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ryan Coogler just got that deal for Sinners.
I'm hoping that Andor changes the kind of paradigm, and that more people talk about it, and all the memes and things that are coming at it, and it becomes a bigger kind of pop culture thing. And people who aren't necessarily Star Wars people go back. This is one of the few Star Wars properties, where I've gotten away with like watching, doing my, I don't do my initial watch because the questions and the things, but like I can watch Andor like with my wife, like who will not watch. If I sit down and put on A New Hope, is like she's gone out of the room. We're done. But I can sit there and watch Andor, and it works. Is she'll sit there and watch that.
But like what I mean is that the streaming isn't getting the profits. Like okay, they didn't really break even on the budget for the show, and I haven't seen a ton of Andor specific merchandise around compared to Mandalorian merchandise, but it's kind of like when Bob Iger came back and replaced Chapek, and he found out they were making a Moana show. And he killed it and says, "No, we're making this a movie. It'll make more money." And then it makes over $1 billion. And it's like, yeah, movies are where it's at in terms of money. So it's like, I think we're going to see much less streaming. Even the new CEO at Netflix says the age of greenlighting all these absurd $300 million movies that aren't making money is over now. It's like, we're not doing that anymore.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, Andor becoming bigger and more popular and more people seeing it will very likely just be people that already own Disney Plus anyway going to watch it. I do not at all see anybody going and purchasing Disney Plus just to go what? No, That's not
And I
going to
think
happen.
that's also why they're putting a lot of the Marvel and Star Wars Disney Plus shows out on Blu-ray and 4K Steelbooks now, because they're trying to tap into that market of people who aren't subscribing, who are still perhaps interested in the content.
Yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of I don't think I would do it again. Is I'm subscribed to, like Paramount Plus because Picard came out. I subscribed to HBO Max at the time for entirely for the Snyder Cut. But I don't see what would, like, there are great shows out there, and I've been burned by the fact that I've done that. Like, I'm not going to pick up Apple TV, which I don't have, for what is it, is the Harrison Ford, like,
Shrinking.
Shrinking is on
that Apple Plus is probably one of the best deals for the content on there, because Apple surprisingly cares about the quality of their content. It's not like Netflix where they just dump a bunch of crap on there every day.
Yeah.
So it's like you get a lot of quality stuff there. No, Naladoc, I did not see the Lego Andor meme.
No, I don't know that. Yeah. But
really...
Eddington, there's Pedro Pascal is
Eddington.
year of 2020 in a small town, a battle between the Joaquin Phoenix as the sheriff and Pedro Pascal as the mayor. That's gonna be some politically stuff.
Oh, it is. It's very modern, relevant with the whole pandemic and lockdown and stuff, and how I think Joaquin's character is the more conservative guy, and then you have Pedro, and somehow Austin Butler's there, some type of weirdo, and it's like it looks very, it's Ari Aster, so it's going to be out there.
Yeah, but that should be something to see. I've also got people from Yellowstone and Emma Stone's in it. Yeah.
Oh yes, For All Mankind is phenomenal, and it is on Apple Plus, and that is an excellent show.
Fantastic
reality of the space race. Like, what if the Russians had won the space race, and the race for space had never ended, and it just kept going? It's a great show.
I'm really excited to watch that. I just recently got Apple TV, and I have been enjoying Severance probably 2 years after everyone else has. But it's very different and very good. But it's a very quiet show. You have to really pay attention. It is not a background show, which is sadly a phenomenon. A lot of people just put streaming show on in the background while doing something else, or doom scrolling on their phone. You do not want to do that at all, but definitely not with something like Severance. But I agree, Apple TV's got a lot of big hits. A lot of shows that I really want to see, like Slow Horses, Shrinking. What's the Seth Rogen? Is it The Studio?
Yeah, The Studio. It's like it's a comedy, but it's also absurdist to the point that I don't believe any of these people will be working in that industry.
Yeah, I heard it was satire though, and so I'm down to check it out. And For All Mankind, and is Foundation also on Apple TV?
See, For All Mankind, the description of that, now that I said that I wouldn't buy another streaming service for something, that makes me sound like I want to see that.
You could do an intense month where you just subscribe for the month and then try and binge through,
and then do absolutely nothing this summer but sit there and watch everything on Apple TV.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, Dave. As a teacher, summer is your break.
Yeah.
I know. I have other things that I should be doing.
It's fine.
Maybe not.
Yeah. No, there's a lot.
All right, let's keep going down the list. Eddington, I think the one to see. Fantastic Four. I think it's going to be like the MCU that we've been talking about. It's not going to surprise us. It's going to be bright, colorful 60s Fantastic Four.
Is that what you want from Fantastic Four?
I think it'll be fine. I didn't hate the other two movies. Okay.
Yeah, I know they're bad, but I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I like the retro future design, and I do like the implication of what will probably happen at the end of this movie. It would be really ballsy if they do it, but I don't know if they will.
I don't know if they're. I want to see if this retro futurism, are they going to try and bring this into the MCU in general?
I don't think so, because they're from their alternate reality,
right? But the MCU is multiversey,
right? But they're trying to get out of that too. Like they said, the next two Avengers movies are exclusively about getting out of the whole multiverse crap.
Well, I mean, they're already into it because Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor.
But that's what I mean. It's like the next two movies Avengers movies are going to be the insane multiverse thing to finally put a stop to that absurdity, which they should never have dived into the first place.
But this should be able to then pop into that.
Well, yeah, because did you see Thunderbolts?
I have not seen Thunderbolts.
I have
Okay.
not either.
Okay, yeah, you see that, and then you watch the post-credit scene. It's like, okay, I kind of see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they wasted so much potential with this multiverse crap, and I think it would have made much more sense if you were going to tell a multiverse story. Then the only multiverse story worth telling would have been go to the alternate 2014 where Thanos left and didn't come back because he got dusted. And how does 2014 Marvel onwards change because Infinity War, Endgame, and all that is not going to happen now?
Yeah,
that would have been interesting. Like that would be, yeah, but
actually designate your Prime Earth instead of skipping around to which one is the one that what's going on.
But that's that'll be a thing. What else we got on the list?
Fantastic Four, Happy Gilmore 2.
Why?
Adam Sandler's done a lot of crap lately. I don't know.
What's he doing?
He's freezing. Oh, he's back.
That
would have been great if I could have got
Adam
a screenshot out of that.
Adam Sandler is going to make an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
And hopefully he recaptures just a little bit of the magic of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it felt like lightning in a bottle.
It may have been.
One film I saw a trailer of before Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning that I didn't even realize was coming out was the Naked Gun sequel.
Yes, that was the next on my list. Is Liam Neeson, who I can't even believe. Like from the last couple Liam Neeson movies I've seen, is just Liam Neeson gets really, really old. I can't imagine him being hip enough to pull this off, but hopefully.
Yeah,
I can picture him doing that. Liam Neeson can be good at comedy. He's been in a few.
Well, no, but I mean, literally, the other movies have just been it's Liam Neeson gets old. Like literally, it's old dude that's doing this. This old dude that's doing this. This older dude that's doing this. It's just like badass, but it's just I'm old. That's what the movies have been about. But this is the Ghostbusters, Top Gun, Maverick. It's like let's bring something out that's like literally. I mean, when was 33 1/3?
Like early 90s.
Yeah. And that's the last one, right? 33 1/3? Yeah.
I think so. What's going to happen in 20 years, 30 years time? I mean, will film even exist? But hopefully when the generation of filmmakers or corporate executives try to do retro and vintage and throwbacks, but all you have left is the remakes of things that have already been done 30 years ago.
You're gonna be
30 years from now, people are gonna have the AI thing on their computer. Because right now, you could do those free 8 seconds of AI prompts, and it looks amazing. It is so infinitely better that the only potential barrier for people like you and me being able to write our own movies will be the expense of having to subscribe to these programs to be able to pay to do that.
Well, that'll be the thing, and that's a whole other argument. And we have this argument on the page all the time about people using AI for this, and I'm like, at some point, it's going to be considered a tool, and it's going to be whether we like it or not. It's going to be a tool that's there, and the artists at that point, there still will be artists, but they may not be just people.
Well, yeah, like AI has basically killed software engineering as a profession because it just does all that is binary and codes and numbers. So it's like, we could just use AI to do it. Like that. Why pay somebody to do it? And that and same with computer science. It's been killing those industries.
And it will eventually kill novelists because it's going to write a whatever. But the people that are going to be the new artists may not have the manual dexterity. They're going to be the people that can program the AI to do something that's not obviously blatantly AI. That you can get somebody who can manipulate the AI enough to still make a product that's not blatantly the AI.
Yeah.
But then again, are we really doing that? Because here's the list for August the 8th. Freakier Friday. Dude.
Who's
Like,
asking
Yeah.
for that?
it's like AI could have come up with a better idea than that.
I'm not surprised if some of these have been AI suggestions. Someone's had like a brainstorm with ChatGPT 4.0, and then they've said, "Oh, Freaky Friday came out 28 years ago, and Jamie Lee Curtis is still acting."
And both revisited. Is that lit? No.
What?
Is Lindsay Lohan actually in this?
I think so.
Oh dear
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, I can see Jamie. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and then it turns weapons. We talked about that one earlier there. I've never even heard of this. Nobody 2.
Yeah, the first one, I like the
first one's
trailer
great.
because the first one, the whole appeal is that he's a regular guy, and at the halfway point, because it starts where he gets in a fight in the bus trying to protect some person who's getting mugged or robbed or whatever. But at the halfway point, they do that really shitty thing where they reveal that, oh, he's secretly an assassin and he's got all these guns hidden in his house, and it becomes a generic direct-to-video, plot that you've seen a million times before. And like, you just stripped away the entire appeal of the concept. But I did like the trailer for the sequel. The sequel actually looks fun, where his family goes on vacation, and there's like some jerks at the carnival, and it turns out that the local sheriff is involved in drug running and stuff, and he basically becomes one man declaring war on this crooked touristy town. So it looks kind of fun.
I like the first one. I'd highly recommend it.
I mean, it's got enough people in here to make it. Bob Odenkirk, of course, Christopher Lloyd, Michael Ironside, Sharon Stone, Colin Hanks.
Can we try and figure out why Christopher Lloyd, who's still acting, hasn't been in any movie? Like, why are we not seeing him in mainstream, like regular, for the last 40 years? It's like he might pop up once every 5 years as a random bit role here or there, and it's like, where are you?
Yeah, I don't know. Why on earth? Speaking of which, though, Christopher Lloyd, if you are a Christopher Lloyd fan, this Thursday on the VCN Watch Along, Back to the Future.
Oh,
We are. Yeah. We're doing some like Star Wars adjacent things. Christopher Lloyd, of course, being in The Mandalorian makes it Star Wars adjacent. Also, if you know, there's a specific line that Marty goes in there that makes it very Star Wars adjacent.
Subplot part.
That scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the things. So yeah, that's going to be our watch along this week. Please join us for that.
That'll be cool.
That I think is like the majority of what I see for what the summer movies are going to be. There's a number of others that have gone through Sundance and stuff, but I don't think it's things that people are going to really have heard of. But maybe there's some stuff out there that will be good. I mean, there's things to go. As I purposely skipped over the one that's going to premiere on July the 11th.
We already talked about Superman.
Yeah, because we've discussed that, and we'll discuss that again at nauseam.
Remember, you have to see that opening day or whatever, because we have to talk about that Sunday the 13th. That's going to be the big event of the summer.
I fully intend on going to see that as soon as humanly possible. Yes, because that's.
Get your tickets now.
Get the tickets now. I may need to rent the entire theater so I can just yell at the screen. Just like no. But yeah, so there's stuff out there. There's stuff going. I think there's going to be like most of the summer movie stuff. There's going to be good. There's going to be bad. There's going to be stuff we're going to go see anyway because it's hot and theaters are air conditioned.
Yes.
Yeah. There's one film actually. I think it's a lot smaller budget. That was on the Rolling Stone list that I wasn't familiar with, but reading about it, I'd like to see. The Life of Chuck, which is a Stephen King novella adaptation.
Oh, that one's already out, yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. June 6th. I forget the dates going so quickly. It's Mike Flanagan, who's a good writer-director. He did Gerald's Game and Doctor Sleep, which I really liked as a sequel to The Shining. And it has Tom Hiddleston as a terminally ill accountant. and it also has Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, and Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. There you go.
So
and at the end of the summer, right after Labor Day, we're going to get The Long Walk, where they will have Mark Hamill as the Major, and that's
that's not
a
even on
Stephen
this
King
list.
adaptation. That's an excellent story.
okay.
It's a dystopic future where it's this game where you volunteer to walk, and in the book you got to maintain 5 miles an hour at jog, and the movie it's 3 miles an hour, and you get 3 warnings. If you stop, you get shot dead, and the winner gets basically everything, whatever they want for the rest of their lives. And Mark Hamill is going to play the Major, who's trying to cheer him on, and that kind of, and reading this very military thing as they're driving across the country. It's really a good story. I think he wrote it under his other pseudonym, Richard Bachman. But that's coming out September 12th, and that trailer was really a banger trailer that got put out. So
wow, that seems cool.
And another one to look forward to is the next Denzel Washington Spike Lee film, Highest to Lowest, which is like a low-key remake of a Kurosawa film from 1963 about these guys who want to kidnap the son of an executive, but they accidentally kidnap the guy's chauffeur's kid instead. And it's so that's going to be it's getting a brief theatrical release, but then it's going to go, I think, to Apple or something after that.
Nice.
But that's coming out August 22nd.
Yeah, here's one that could go one way, could go the other. Is July 4th. They're shooting on a big opening date on this one. 40 Acres. Is Danielle Deadweiler.
Danielle, she's great.
Is a community of post-apocalyptic survivors who've managed to turn a patch of farmland into a sanctuary. Defend from others, scorched earth world. So,
and let's not forget the remake of The Toxic Avenger with Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger and Elijah Wood as the deranged villain. Finally, they made this movie a few years ago. They've been looking for distribution. It is finally coming out August 29th.
Yeah, that one's not on this list. I wonder why.
And then the remake of what is it? The War of the Roses. They're doing a remake with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, just called The Roses.
Oh, I didn't pick up on what that was. I scrolled right past that.
Yeah, it's August 29th. That looked kind of fun.
Well, anyway, and also in August, you can see some of the VCN family at in Frisco, Texas, right there at the Rebel Scum Con, right? We are going to have our very own version of the Boonta Eve special edition. Everything out there. A lot of Star Wars guests, karaoke, Star Wars guests who are apparently going to perform karaoke. That is sponsored by a whole lot of people, including VIP Home Theaters. The VIP Home Theaters, we're going to have another event with them that, spoilers, I can't talk about right now. But I think they've got some really good, like we need to experience. They have a place set up. They have like a showroom set up that showcases their speaker and stuff, like a screening room. I think we need to get in there and like do our own version of MST3K. This is like,
that would be fun if we had a little Star Wars series like that. Oh, Sherry. Hey, Sherry.
What's up? Yes, Anna is. She promised or threatened that she was going to be singing some of the karaoke with us. And Anna Graves, speaking of Anna Graves, if you want to see her, she is in North Carolina. Look it up next weekend, next Saturday, the 34th, like 15th of June, at a comic shop here. So a very small little mini Comic-Con with Anna Graves. And I think Skip and I are road tripping to go meet up and see her there. So
Saturday, June 14th.
14th. Saturday, June 14th. So, yeah. If you can find that, if you were in the North Carolina area, like scoot out, and that would be a great one to see. And of course, if you miss her there, if you're not in the North Carolina area, she will be one of our guests at the Boonta Eve's special edition in Texas. And you can go back and watch the Anna Graves interview on the last episode of Clone Wars Revisited. That was a super good one, all talking about voice acting and the Clone Wars and all sorts of things that I think our viewers will enjoy.
Yes, Duchess Satine, for those who might be watching who don't know.
Duchess. She's Duchess Satine. She plays a couple of different senators in the Clone Wars. She plays, I think, a pirate / bounty hunter, and in the Disney Infinity game, she is the voice of Princess Leia. Mm-hmm. Amongst all sorts of other fandoms and things that I don't know. She is a very prolific voice actress. So
yeah, I'm just actually scrolling. She's in a lot of video games.
Oh yes, a lot of video games, and she spoke on the show about how there's a lot of stuff going on with that right now because video game actors are currently on strike. I think still on strike from the different things. So she talks a lot about that on the show. So you can check that out on the Rewind. It is, I think, still our featured video on the YouTube channel. So if you just go right there on the homepage, that interview is it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Cool. Well, we are here on the Unifying Force. Thanks everybody for watching. We have a lot of people watching today live. That's why we love doing this one live. We are on the march to 100 episodes. We're on 93, right?
Yes.
The same as the main group. The main group is on the road to 100,000 members, and they're going to start doing some giveaways for that. One of the giveaways that we announced at 98.5 is at 99,000. We are going to be giving away an autographed photo, with the little sticker of authenticity of Hayden Christensen. Right, it's going to be gifted by Twin Cities Comics, and you get, I think that is the actual photo of it right there. I'm pretty sure it is. So that's pretty darn cool prize to get right there. So when we hit 99, is join us on the VCN watch along, and we will raffle that off. And hosts are eligible. So, don't forget, Kat and Gio, to join that as well, because I darn well put in my name for the last giveaway.
So our 100th episode is on track to be September 28th. So we'll keep that in mind.
September 28th. We got to start thinking of, big fireworks, explosions, some kind of coolness there. As always, if you guys have ideas for our 100th episode or others, go ahead. What about an autograph photo? Whoa!
That would be...
I don't know that we have the budget for that, sir.
Yeah. Well, I think this is about our longest episode yet. I think hour 37.
Hour 30. I think we've gone a little long. We've gone that way before, but yeah. But anyway, yes. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching for this long. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Thank you. May the Force be with you all.